Hey guys, welcome to episode 34. We think we're going to double check of the Empowered Hearts podcast. Today we have a special guest, Hilary Leehane, and she is actually my hypnotist. She's who got me, in my path, but she's a hypnotist and specializes in, I think, all things spirituality, energy, and near-death experience, which is super cool. And I would really, I asked Hilary to be on the podcast today so that she could share her story of empowerment from, the 9 to 5 life to then being a hypnotist and what that path has looked like. So welcome, Hilary.
Welcome. Thank you, Morgan and Crystal.
So yeah, if you could fill us in, how did you get on your path?
Oh man, where do I start? So I guess in terms of the spiritual path, I've always sort of dabbled in that kind of thing, growing up. My family had a spiritual air to them. And so I was always into different things, psychic readings, energy work, tarot, oracle, all that stuff. Um, but I let that go for many years. Along the way, I had spiritual experiences where I just thought, okay, there's something to that. Trying not to dismiss it. Um, but I went down the road of becoming sort of a nonstop student. So I went to school for many things. I went back to university in 2005, 2006. And I found myself just dabbling in all kinds of things. If you knew me at the time, you'd be like, Hilary, what are you doing now? Right? So, um,
You love it.
eventually, right? Eventually, I found what I thought I wanted. I went to school for, so if you look at a timeline, I'm just going to sort of crunch it down. I went to school for psychology, all the way to like the sciences. I was going to move up to Svalbard and work with ice and glaciers and all that craziness. And then all the way to marketing and account management. And then I thought, okay, no, I really like the art side of things. So I'm going to go down the route of art. So here I am, like just imagine each school, different things. So I went down the route of art. I went to art school and dabbled in all kinds of art. And I recognized that I really enjoyed doing design art, so product art. You see those fancy, you see like sometimes on the car commercial, they'll be drawing the cars and you'll get a sense of that. So that's what I went to school for eventually. So I went the route of car design, but I ended up, not everybody breaks into that world. It's pretty cutthroat. Um, so I did product design as when I graduated. Anyway, my soul at that time when I went, head first into the corporate world, and I know, we know so many people that have gone down this route of corporate to health, but my soul was just like, no, you know, I,
Mhm.
the last many years training in what I thought I wanted, I recognized that it was my ego driving that. I wanted to climb the ladder. I wanted to be the best of the best of the best. And that's not a bad thing to want to be the best in your field, but there was something else driving it that wasn't right. And so I found myself uh, suddenly riddled with anxiety, a very rare, apparently, sleeping disorder and depression that all came with that sleeping disorder.
Mm.
So I had to basically shut my life down, forgive the past in a sense. Um, and uh, and I had a couple different people work with me in the world of hypnosis. Um, and that helped me climb out of the sleeping disorder, the anxiety, the depression, the lowest of the low that you can go, and get me back on track. Now, after that, I was terrified to even look in the design world direction.
Mhm.
Um, I even, I remember going for like I knew I had to get a job again in something, and I went for an interview for a design place just locally, and they called me to tell me I got the job, and I freaked out on the phone so badly internally that
Mm.
I lied to them and I said I already have a job when I didn't. I
You
didn't.
just knew right then and there.
I just knew, and I was terrified of going back into that same sort of work environment where I was possibly going to let somebody down, because I internally thought, oh my gosh, like when I got the sleeping disorder out of nowhere, really. It was just one night and then that was it. Every single night was like that. And so, I remember texting my boss at 3 a.m. and saying, I'm sorry, I can't make it in. And then the letting go of me, they let me go that morning. And I just felt like I just let down so many people. And I was
Mm.
terrified of that again. So there was one day in January 2020 when I thought, you know what? I'm going to, because hypnosis has helped me so much, I'm going to reach out to my soon to be my teacher at that time, but the hypnotist that helped me with a lot of things out of what I was going through. And so I messaged her and I said, can you just let me know when you're holding your next training, because I want to save up and take it. I think that's the life path I want. And she writes back within a minute, it starts Friday. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And so I did. And during that training, towards the end of it, I had I guess what you'd call it is a spiritual awakening. I had such an intense spiritual experience that it just changed my life forever, in terms of emotions and connection. It's not as intense at all like it was, but
Mhm.
there's still so many aspects of it that are integrated into my life. So
What do you
Mm.
I
mean a
went
spiritual
down,
experience?
yeah. Yeah, so I had many podcasts and interviews later. I think I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think it was like an out of body experience in a
Mm.
sense. So I
Oh.
was doing self-hypnosis. I don't know if you guys have the time for this.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So basically, I was in self-hypnosis and I suddenly felt two like sturdy, steady angels like at my back, like more
Mm.
than two here, right? Tall, tall, tall. They weren't white in my mind, but they were just like concrete almost. Like they were just steady. They were holding me in place almost, right? Helping me, as I figured out afterward. I'm all tingly now.
Me too.
Love
So,
it.
right. So I found myself suddenly in this beautiful meadow and looking over, and there's these mountains and just this gorgeous place. Oh my gosh. Like, sorry, I don't usually get teary about this. I don't know what's going on. Um, so I'm looking out and I look to my left and there's just tons of people, like random people. I don't even know them.
Mhm.
And I look over and I'm And besides the people there, I mean, I didn't grow up with this idol, this archetype in my life at all, but the energy signature of Jesus was there.
Wow.
And so I'm looking over, and all these people suddenly, within a split second, it was like I was playing out all the past life karma with them. So, battles and killings, not great stuff, but karma in a sense, all at once. And it was so jarring that I came back to myself. And maybe that's why the angels were there to hold me or something. But I came back to the room, and I thought, I don't know what was going through my mind at the time, like how I thought I was going to get back, but I just set my intention, like I want to find out what's going on. And so I just let myself go back in self-hypnosis and going back, and I was in the meadow again, and now this Jesus was up like in front of me, and all the people that I had just seen all that karma with, they were lined up again on my left, but they were lined up like shoulder to shoulder for as long as I could see. And Jesus was in front of me, and uh he handed me this blue crystal stone thing. I still don't know what it is. I hear lapis lazuli, kind of that. And I would take that, and I would turn to the person on my left in the line, and I would place it like in their heart, as if the blue crystal was, or what, stone was going inside their body as an energy. And then I'd turn back and I'd go to the next person and do it again and do it again. I didn't get through the line. It was maybe probably 2 or 3. And then I came back to my body again, in a sense, and I was back in that room. And then coming out of hypnosis, like the instructor brought us out of self-hypnosis. But that was only like a small part of what happened next. So there was, sorry to carry on and on.
No, we love this.
Good. So there was a snowstorm, of course, like every night I was going that January, there was a friggin' snowstorm, but I got in my car and I'm driving, this was in Bowmanville, and I'm driving up the 115, and I suddenly am sort of having this back and forth in my mind, like as if I'm talking to God or source, or I don't know, Jesus or something. And they're telling me, Hilary, you need to think about, like, don't drink so much, let go of meat for now in your life, do healthy things for yourself. And I'm like driving through the snowstorm, having like battling, well, what about a drink of wine on the weekend? Well, you probably shouldn't. And the message that I got was, that alcohol, it sort of puts a barrier between the connection and yourself. So yeah, I got home and I was just on cloud 9. If I could bottle that emotion and give it to people, like there was no question in my mind that this was it. There was no question in my mind that was there an afterlife or something, that I was connected through this, what looked like, if I was to imagine it, I felt it for sure, is this like beam of light, like a tether, right, coming out of your crown and up, this white tether. And all my fears, I struggled before that. So all the years before that, I struggled so bad with jealousy, fear. I mean, those are the big ones that stand out to me, but just all these things in life that were holding me back and getting in the way of my relationship and all this stuff. And it was like suddenly it was all just gone. It was just
Mm.
gone. And I was this elated, I had this elated feeling for, I don't know, to look back, I think what I've been saying is like 3 to 4 weeks.
Mhm.
And then it shifted, it started to dissipate. And I grasped for that feeling, like,
Mhm.
don't go, like, what's happening, right? But the wonderful thing is that the fears and all the stuff that released when I had that feeling, they were gone.
Yep.
So it's not like they left too. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's not like I got them back, the fears and jealousies, but the feeling, the elated feeling. Now, I if you had known me during that time period, um I must have, like, I got into shape pretty quickly, not, abs or anything, but I got into shape.
Mhm.
I let go of meat for that time. I let go of all alcohol. I must have lost like 10 pounds. I was getting healthier in a sense.
Mhm.
Um, and so I graduated from the training not long after, and I uh I was just like a horse, like ready to run, like open my business and help the world and all this stuff. And literally a month later, I guess, or a few weeks later, COVID just slammed down. That was it. So yeah, so that's my spiritual awakening story, I guess. And that really led me to sort of know, I guess, on a deeper level, what I wanted to
Mhm.
help people with was that connection to
Mm.
their divine, uh,
Mm.
to source, or whatever that is for them, whatever that is for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I I was meditating the other day and Jesus did visit me, and that never happened before. I feel way more of a strong connection to Archangel Michael. And so when Jesus did come, I was like, oh, okay, like that's different. But I mean, this does happen. It does.
Yeah.
And like you are a light worker, and we're helping the planet shift right now. Like it's just, we have to come online. Our gifts have to come, we have to remember, because we're helping the planet shift. And so that's a beautiful story. I didn't know that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a shift, that's for sure. Yeah.
It's really wild the way you speak about this elation. I experienced it in the summer, actually, for probably 2 weeks before I went to Crystal's house. And it was
Mhm.
just after I finished my training with you. And I was like, I was like joy every moment of the day. I was just
Mhm.
like, everything's amazing. Everything's just perfect. It's just like I was on my soul's path. And then the rest of my life, showed up and was, I don't want to say the word, like the sentence, like reality hit, because I believe we can choose our reality, but like the rest of my life made itself apparent. And it was like, oh, like I feel like I was given that elated feeling to follow my path. Like you're on the
Mhm.
right path. And now it's like, okay, now clean up the rest of the shit so that you can get on that elated path.
Mhm.
It's how I was able to understand it.
That's how it worked for me too, Morgan, because when I had not my first big spiritual awakening, but like, like the rock bottom moment when everything just shifts, it was like that. And then I experienced that elated feeling I was trying to figure it out. It was probably 2.5 months, to the point when um my marriage ended. And then that's where it's like, okay, you got to clean this up now. You know what it feels like to live in your highest aligned timeline. And now we're going to do the work so that you can get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like, does that resonate with you, Hilary?
That makes so much sense. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, if I look back, um, it really helped me, because when COVID hit, like, less went into, Les is my husband, Crystal, but Les came down with it and was hospitalized. And so right away. So it's almost like that elation helped me get through some sticky periods in life and help me clean up, right? Clean up what I
Yeah.
needed to do, get myself healthy on track, and then feel that, I think, that momentum, like keep that momentum, even though I was grasping and I was like, where is it gone? I've realized since that it's not gone. It's almost like your body, you hit this level spiritually, and your body needs to catch up. And when it catches up, it's like, oh, okay, I don't quite feel it anymore, but it's not gone, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's like your body's now up here in a sense. But yeah, no, that totally resonates with me, that it's
I think when these
like
like
afterwards.
revelation, I don't even know what you call them. Like they're like
Revelation, maybe. It's like a revelation.
it's like, yeah, it's like a natural ecstasy almost. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's like, what was I gonna say? Um, oh God. Well, when it hits, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like your higher self, maybe, or like a higher timeline being like, this is possible. And it's like joy, it's just like that feeling of joy. But maybe before we had never got there. And it's just like your vibration like rises so quickly, and it shows you like this path equals this. And then as you, like you said, as you go on that path, like you get acclimated to it, and you're just vibrating at a higher level always.
Yeah.
Realize it, because it's not so drastic anymore, except when it goes the other way, like we've all discussed. When you go low now,
Yeah.
it is like the end of the world.
And it
Yeah.
feels like the low that we go now is probably not as low as it used to be. It's like a higher level of low, but when your vibration, your level of consciousness rises, the low was probably like a normal day back in the day,
Yeah. And now
right?
it's dread, death, like can't even.
It feels like hell. Yeah.
Yeah, the drop is it feels so heavy that it feels
Yeah.
like I have a lot of
Yeah.
people reach out to me and say, well, did I regress? Like, did I, all that hard work, is it just gone, now that I feel like I'm having a crap day? No, it's not gone. And you'll bounce back faster. I think I've mentioned it to Morgan in the past. Like when you reach those highs, even though now that drop, even though that was a normal day, that drop feels so hard. You end up bouncing back a little faster, I think, back to
I
your.
agree with that. I feel like before the spiritual awakening, it was more like this. And now it's like this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like you've got like more elation. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's more severe. It feels more severe than
Yeah.
before. It just kind of felt more like this because you were kind of mid-aligned. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So then what happened? I'm like, you're a very good storyteller.
Oh,
Yeah, so
really?
COVID hit, you launched
Yeah.
your business, and then COVID hit. Then what?
Yeah, I was one of the crazies that opened up a business during COVID. So so COVID hit, and I just felt like, again, like I felt like that racehorse that was behind bars now. Like I couldn't go down the track. I had the bars in front of me still. So I did some hypnosis. I invited a girlfriend over, and you know how we had those little groups that, oh, I'll see you, but I won't see you, craziness. Um, but so she came over and we did some hypnosis, and then Les and I were driving around Lindsay one day and looking at, we both just one day, I don't know, I remember him saying, oh, I looked at um like places for lease, clinic centers for lease, and I was amazed because I had done the same thing in the day, but we hadn't had that discussion at all. So we decided to go on a little adventure, and I guess this would have been, I don't know, maybe September 2020. And we found a spot in Lindsay, and we called the number, um and then a month later we're moving in. And so we opened the doors October 2nd, 2020. And looking back, I don't even know how I paid the bills. Like I have no clue. It happened. It was, the universe is God's will. And that was another thing. I remember laying awake at 3 a.m. a lot of nights thinking, how am I going to pay the bills?
Mm-hmm.
And just having to give it over in a sense. And I do a lot of imagination work, so I would imagine the door opening and closing, almost like a turnstile, people coming in, people going out. And it just worked. And there was a lot of people that needed help at that time. So I worked with a lot of nurses. I worked, yeah, a lot of nurses. And I worked with, in the beginning, there was a lot of people trying to quit smoking, get healthy, stuff like that. I've largely moved away from that. But uh, yeah, the spiritual part of the business started to open up as well. Um,
Was it
I
easy for you to separate work from like your personal, like when you're working with people who, you know, carry that heaviness?
So was I bringing the heaviness home kind of
Yeah,
thing?
like were you able to detach?
In the beginning, I was bringing the
Yeah.
heaviness home. There was lots of nights where I would actually regress and have my sleeping disorder sort of ramp up a little bit. And there was a lot of work on my behalf that I had to do to
Mm-hmm.
say to myself and do my own hypnosis, where I was saying, okay, I don't need to take on this person's sleeping disorder. Right. Oh, that was another thing, is people would come in and I would take on their
Mm-hmm.
whether it was a sleeping disorder or an anxiety or anger, whatever they were going through emotionally, I would the next day have
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, I got into a lot of creating that boundary, creating that shield in a sense, a lot of cord cutting afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely had to get on that fast because
Mm-hmm.
it was a big thing in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm just thinking, I'm like, could that have just happened to me?
I was
And
just gonna say, Morgan, do you feel that
well,
when you
I
work with?
saw somebody Saturday and I would just like, I was great. And then I like went to bed and I was like not good and I haven't been
Yeah.
good since, but I
Yeah.
was yielded. Yeah, like just like
Yeah.
my worrying and overthinking has gone from like normal to like 800%. And I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
is really odd.
To not
Yeah.
like your normal thoughts, not like your
Oh,
normal, I know, like that for me is, I wouldn't say it's like a negative because it helps me understand better because I can feel it, I can move through it, um working with someone else. But a lot of the times, like if they have physical symptoms, it's just like you, Hilary, I feel them too, and it's like I have to like heal that piece within myself now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we help them heal, and then it's like we transmute it for them
It's
as
so true.
healers. Yeah, it's crazy. Clairsentience.
oh, wow.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
And
what,
it can be hard to navigate.
yeah, so like how did you work through that? Just by being cautious and being like, oh, okay, I'm now just shielded every day and
Yeah. So yeah, kind of at first, of course, it was in spurts. I would forget sometimes and
Mm-hmm.
remember other times to do that. Now I try my hardest to connect in with their higher self, my higher self, have guides around throughout the session, and and just say to myself, I don't need to take on their emotional or physical stuff in order to heal, in
Mhm.
order for them to heal.
Yeah.
It's almost like the fabric of my being wanted to take it for them and hold
Yeah.
it. And I just said at some point, I can't remember when, but I just said at some point, that's enough of that, because I can still do good work, and they are going to do good work for themselves in hypnosis and through
Mhm.
the energy work. And I don't need to take that on. I think it became very apparent when um, I was working with, it must have been my first client that this happened with, but they had an energy body that was not their own, right? And I took that on, and I realized,
Mm.
no, no, that cannot happen. That cannot happen, because it just messed me up. So there was that, and I just I just drew a line in the sand, and
Mhm.
just said no, and a lot of cord cutting after session, and smudging and all the stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I think there's so much power in intention.
Yeah.
So just starting out the session, even when they call me to sign up, if I've got an awkward feeling about them, then I'll usually send them somewhere else. Or my husband's he's taken a lot of clients, and yeah, I try my best to keep my energy from being going down that route.
Yeah. Just trying to keep that healthy separation.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
now when you see clients, like when you said
Mhm.
that you help them spiritually, like could you go into that? So what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
what I know about life between lives, but I don't think you and I have ever really like dug into it in so I'm really
No, I guess we haven't. Yeah, I thought we did, but I guess we haven't. Now that I think about it, we haven't really gone down that route.
like maybe we should just for fun.
Yeah, yeah. So spirituality is different for everybody, right? And as a hypnotist, I have to put my own spiritual stuff to the side and be open to what they want to do. If they want to go see Buddha, that's great. If you want to go see Jesus, that's awesome. If you want to, if whatever they're open to, I'm on board with, because it's their soul having that experience, right? And they signed up for that experience. So in a spiritual sense, so trying to think of like an example. Okay, so I want you to think of this, because both of you are in like the healing realm. You're in that working with the mind. When you have a client that is, so think of two clients. One client is, I'm this body, there's nothing else. When I die, I'm in the ground. That's it. Life sucks. And then you have a client
Mhm.
that is, maybe there's a little more. Maybe there's more to this mind. Maybe there's more to this body, and maybe soul. The one who is trapped in their body,
Mhm.
it's almost, I don't want to say harder, but there's so much healing that can happen, self-healing that can happen, when you see that maybe there's more to you than
Mhm.
this body. And um, to try to take somebody that is all about the body and that's it through a hypnosis session, sometimes, I mean, I've done it many times, but it's easier to have that idea that there is more. And it doesn't have to be heaven's gates and angels and all that stuff, but there's more to your mind. there's
Mhm.
there's more to explore. um so in a spiritual sense, if I'm talking about, working with like anxiety, or something like that, I have, he won't mind me saying this, I won't say his name, but we worked on sleep. And randomly, not, he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't even know it was coming, but randomly he popped back through regression into a past life. And he kept traveling back and back until, he ended up at his first life when he started out as a soul, and he cried and cried and cried and felt so connected to um
Mm.
in his words, like the mother Mary, I think he said. um so there was sadness that he was separating to start down this path of understanding what it's like to have bodies and emotions and all this stuff. But he had this deep connection suddenly to something else, and he had no idea that that was possible.
Mm.
And I remember he went through his sessions, and then not long ago, I'm going to say like maybe 6 months ago, I was thinking about him. I think about him randomly because of how intense it was. And then I had a client leaving, and he's walking through the parking lot, like towards my door. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And he comes in and he just gives me this big hug. And he's like, I'm still not afraid of death now that I worked with you.
Wow.
Oh,
And so and he was terrified before, and now he
Mm.
feels just connected. So, there's that can happen, that connection, that remembering who you are. It's not guaranteed to remember who you are in a hypnosis session, but we work towards that if someone is wanting to.
Mm.
Um, and remembering who you are. Remember what I said about when I remembered who I was, it's like fears just melted away.
Mhm.
So in a hypnosis session, when you're working with somebody, how wonderful would it be to have an ounce of that, and anxiety seems like it's just melting away, or a fear about
Yeah.
something is just melting away because you know that there's just something else, right? Whatever that is.
yeah. When I would say this year, through all the transition I've been in, I've really strengthened my relationship with the divine, with God, just with my
Mhm.
higher self, with my guides. And I still do experience everyday stressors, but when I can see myself getting a bit carried away, I'm like, this is God's plan. And so just like that's what I've had to do with this overthinking that I had last night and the night before. I just was like, God, this is obviously your plan. So whatever I'm experiencing, like it doesn't really matter if I'm freaking out or not freaking out because the result really is the same. It's going to be the same, I believe. So I'm allowed to relax is what I
Yeah.
realized. It's like overthinking is not harming anybody but me.
Mhm.
So real I believe having a strong connection with God, it kind of makes life, it just makes things a little bit it makes things actually a lot easier because you're like, it doesn't really matter if it's okay to stand up for myself. It's okay to say the thing you have to say because you're going to be taken care of. It doesn't,
Mhm.
being in fear constantly is not helping. It's like,
Mhm.
do the
Mhm.
thing you're scared of, do the thing you don't want to do the thing, like, because when you jump is when when the net appears, right? But
Mhm.
we forget that until we remember our connection.
Yeah.
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 So would you be able to share a little bit about near-death experience? I don't know anything about that.
Oh man, there's a rabbit hole for you to go down.
She loves the rabbit hole.
So so next time you're watching YouTube, look up the letters NDE.
Okay.
That's it. And there you go. So near death experiences, I what was it? Where do I start this story? Okay, so I'm gonna give you my own experience with it, or whatever it was. When people ask me, I just say it was NDE like. because it's so much like the experiences, but I'll never know if I actually died. So we'll just put that on the table. But it sort of got, I guess if I hadn't had those experiences, I wouldn't really understand what's going on now for people, and I maybe wouldn't be working in the field. So when I was 20, I want to say 21, I don't know anymore, early 20s, 21 years old, I was sleeping. It was early morning, like the sun was up early morning kind of thing. And uh, I was suddenly, and when I tell you this story, I want you to imagine that it's not like a memory. It is happening now when I remember it. So I am basically shooting through this tunnel towards this light, right? The tunnel of light. And it's, there's these beautiful purples and reds and this light in the distance. And as I'm going up through this tunnel, I hear this angelic sound that's like, this, oh, that kind of thing. And it's getting louder and louder and louder as I approach the light. And then suddenly kind of slammed back into my body in a sense and woke up. Now I was 21, no idea what the heck. Like I had no idea about near-death experiences. It wasn't even on my radar. I was just working at a coffee shop at the time. I was 21. I didn't care, all the stuff, right? So, fast forward 10 years almost exactly. I'm again in the morning, early morning, light out, sleeping, and I'm suddenly lifting parallel to my body up out of my body, but I'm on a beach and the waves are like coming over my legs and I'm going into the light. I'm surrounded by light and I'm thinking, oh, I'm dying. I'm okay with that because the feeling was just indescribable. Like love doesn't even cover it. It's people try to call it love, and that's probably maybe the thing that people would understand, but it's not.
Enlightenment.
It's I don't even know. It's this feeling that permeates you that everything is okay. Everything in the universe is okay, and not and you're gonna be okay, and everybody's gonna be okay. And you're just connected. So I'm like, okay, I'm dying. I'm good with this. And this is what I'm thinking as I'm rising into the light. And then I have this split second thought of I don't want to leave my boyfriend at the time, my husband now. And with that thought, just a split second, slam back into the body. No death for you. All right. So
then you're like, oh no, I'm back here.
Back here.
Right? Then the feeling, I was like, no, bring back the feeling. It was so good. Oh my God. So at that time, I didn't know, again, 31, didn't really know near-death experiences, but about to know near-death experiences. So what was it? I maybe, I don't even know the timeline here, but within the year, from 31 to 32, I picked up a book called Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. And it was this amazing book. It really brought to light some things that I had been feeling. And I was looking at my experiences and not understanding because she had died, she had cancer riddled body. She died and then came back and was clear of cancer in like 6 weeks.
What?
And yeah, it's just insane. So
Fascinating.
I'm thinking, that all of that stuff wasn't my life, but uh, I reached out to the IANDS community, IANDS, and they specialize in helping taking people's experiences and letting them share them either anonymously or with their name. And they have sharing groups, and basically for people that come back, because there are way more people than you would ever imagine that have a death and come back.
Yeah.
And have an experience. Many don't have an experience, but many do. And so I reached out, and I wanted to be, I wanted to be a part of that. And hypnosis wasn't in my life yet, but it all sort of came together in this perfect way once I became a hypnotist. And I guess if I'm thinking back and I think about the near-death experience world and all the things I was learning and the other side, and all the things that people go through when they do have an experience, the connection, it really helped me get through my sleeping disorder during those very dark times, feeling like I could reach out and to something and feel connected. So when I work with near-death experiencers, um, I I should say that when people come back, oftentimes they have a hard time integrating the knowledge, and integrating their soul, in a sense, back into their body. Many experiencers will say that they feel like they've got one foot out of their body. They'll have random OBEs happen, and so they're kind of feeling out of sorts. So when I work with them, I'll help them through hypnosis to integrate the messages if there are any that they want to integrate. We'll even go through the experience again at the level, not the death, but the next part in between, their experience part. And then if they want, they can call in a guide to answer any questions that they have during that time. So that seems to help them. So I work, I've talked at the IANS conference. I'm just about to work a little more with them. But yeah, in terms of near-death experience, that's what I help experiencers go through so that they can be living more of a normal experience, so to speak. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That is.
I've come to the terms that I do believe that I have part of my soul has left. I've like, there's, and I will probably do a session on this. Like when I was 14, whatever happened, part of me did leave, and it hasn't integrated back. So that's just fascinating. Do people ever fully, I don't know if the word is heal or like integrate from that experience?
Well, I don't know, because fully is subjective, right? Everybody's going to have a different feeling for what fully is. When they do hypnosis, it helps them come out of the chair and go, okay, I understand that now. Or maybe there was a message that I've worked with some people where we recover messages. So they have their experience, they know there's something there. It's like I should say, with near-death experiencers, when they are recalling their experience, they are there. It's not like a memory. The experience is happening like right there in their mind. And so sometimes for many people, they come out of death and it's right there, and they have to try to figure it out, because on another, I could go on and on hours and hours on this, but two things or more could happen, but the two things that come to mind: one, it's all there and it takes years to unpack for some people, because when a near-death experience happens, to look back at it as a human, it all happened at once. So there's no linear feeling or memory to it. So it's all happening at once in 360-degree vision. And so to put it into a linear form can be hard and a long time to do. Another thing that can happen is they have bits and pieces of it and they want to see if there's more. I've had people reach out to me about that. Sometimes there is more, sometimes there's not. It's really, it's all over the place. So there's that. Other people are told in their experience, you're not going to remember this for a while. And then suddenly, randomly, when they're meant to remember it, it all floods back in like a dream, like suddenly, you're going through your day and you go, oh my gosh, and I remember this whole dream and everything that happened, but you had totally forgotten before. It's kind of like that. So it's sort of like this shield is put over it, and then years later, it's opened up and they remember being told that you're not going to remember this. But many, if you go down the rabbit hole, the endless rabbit hole now of NDEs, many people are told it's not your time. It's not your time yet. You'll come back, but it's not your time yet. You've got stuff to do. So you got to go back. Many people fight that. They're like, no, I don't want to
I
go
don't
back.
want to go back.
Right. But they have to. So yeah, it's just a fascinating world to work in. The people that you work with are just so wonderful, at least the ones that I've worked with. And I'm so glad that they're sharing more and more. When I got into the field, I blasted through the YouTube NDEs in a couple months. There was maybe 100 of them. Now that people are sharing, they feel safe to share. It's constant. It's endless. The
It's
amount
amazing.
of experiences, that are coming out.
Wow.
I hope that answers your question. I know it's all over the
It's
place.
amazing.
I'm yawning because I'm listening to you speak. And it's
Oh, yeah.
so because Hilary does hypnosis with when she speaks, it's my
And you're like ready to
this
just
is like, okay, we're going now. I'm like,
sink
Morgan,
into a session.
focus.
I love it.
Like, why am I yawning? I'm like, because Hilary's talking. Like
That's
her voice
hilarious.
just like my subconscious is like, okay, are we doing work now?
Yeah.
It both.
I love it.
Oh,
That
man.
is so fascinating. I probably am going to get into the rabbit hole now because now I'm like, why wouldn't I? So
I love it.
Yeah.
thank you so much, Hilary. This has been so beautiful and like I feel like I've learned so much, and I will be rabbit holing tonight on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna message me in the morning and be like, I'm
Like,
gonna
this is it. This is the problem.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll put your links at the bottom, and I'll link your Instagram and anything else you want me to link. And yeah, thank you so much. This has been beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Anytime you want to learn and all that stuff.
You're a projector, right? So you love learning.
Me? Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
projector.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a constant learner. Yeah.
Just like all the information all the time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, have a good night, guys.
You too. Thank you
Guys,
again.
bye.
Hey, bye-bye.